Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Jackson, and I am your professor for this course, Computer Security. I am so excited to have you with me for the next 8 weeks or so as we talk about various computer security topics. So whether you are super aware of computer security, whether you're a beginner or somewhere in between, wherever you are on your computer security journey, I'm super excited to have you on board with me. Whether you are an online student or whether you are in my in-person course, I think we're going to have a good time. And I think that together we can collaborate and make this a great course. I want this course to be something of value to you. I want it to mean something to you, and I want it to bring something useful and good to your life, and hopefully something that you can bring with you to a future career. You're paying a lot of money for this course, and I just want to make sure that it's something that is useful for you. So if any point during the course you are confused by something, you think I can do something better, you think the course can be something better, please, please, please know that you always have an open line of communication with me. You can email me and I will always respond, and I will use any feedback you have to iterate upon the course, make it better. And I always want to make sure that you know I am somebody you can contact if you need anything. And I'm here to help you, and I'm here to support you in your journey as a college student in this course. So just know that this course is your course. It's for you. You will get what you put into it. Um, I am not typically someone to tell people what to do. I'm not going to say you must do this, you must do that. But I think that if you do the course materials that are in the course and you really apply yourself and do your best to apply what we're learning to the material and the labs that we do, I think you'll learn a lot, and I think that you'll have some fun too. This class is not just a traditional lecture course. You will get just as tired of hearing me talk as I would of hearing myself talk if that were the case. So typically what we're going to do is I do have the course Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the in-person group from 10:30 to 11:35 or thereabouts. Typically Mondays will be lecture days. Part of that will be me talking about the chapter for the upcoming week, or for the week rather. And then part of it will be communication and talking with the students in person. Typically it will be recorded during the class hour, and I will upload the class lecture and the recording to Brightspace at this point, or in the class rather. But today the recording did not go as planned. So that's why I am recording it from my house today. So I apologize that you aren't getting the classroom feedback, but I think this will be useful to you as well. As well with that, although these videos will probably be viewed more by the online portion of the course class, it will be useful to the in-person class as well, where they can go back and review what we've talked about, or if they miss a class or something like that, you can always go back and review what we've talked about and learned together. Typically that will be Mondays, will be lecture and collaboration. Wednesdays and Fridays will be more work days in class, and that will be when we work on the labs or work on the discussions or the other required assignments for the week. We have quizzes and things like that as well. So just keep a note on the announcements. I will always note what is happening. Although the schedule is a little bit more structured for the in-person class, you know, lectures on Mondays, quizzes on Wednesday, or quizzes on Fridays, and then labs and stuff on Wednesdays. The online class is a little bit more flexible in that schedule. And I will keep you up to date on that as we go through the class together. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to go through our syllabus together. At this point, I think I've said all I need to say. So if there are any in-person class members watching this video, everything else is probably going to be review for you. But online class, this will be entirely new for you. So stick around with me and we can go through this. So first thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the syllabus for our class. So this is the syllabus for the class. Reminder, my name is Michael. My email is mjackson1. I do not have any student hours assigned necessarily, but I can be reached in person and Zoom via appointment. If you just meet with or contact me, we can work something out if you want to meet face to face, whether that be on Zoom or in person. So in this class, we're going to learn a lot about risk management, access control, security architecture, physical security, telecommunication security, cryptography, business continuity, and disaster recovery. Now, as I said, I am the information security manager for the College of St. Scholastica. What is interesting about that is that I do this stuff in my day-to-day life for my full-time job every day. What we're learning in this class, what I'm teaching you, is what I do day to day, which I think is really exciting. It's not every day that you get a professor that lives and breathes this topic every day. So I hope that I can provide some interesting value to you in that way too. I want to make this a little bit more hands-on and a little bit more applicable to real life, rather than just reading from a book or reading from slides. So please check your email daily. Please do get 2 USB drives and make sure that you have the 7th edition of our textbook. Any other textbook edition will not align with what we are doing in this class. Typical grading scale, you can see the grading scale right there. We will have exercises and discussions, quizzes, and labs and exams each week. So we will for sure have we will not have exams each week. We will have quizzes each week, and then we will typically have 1 lab and 1 exercise or discussion. So that's what we have this week and every week. For quizzes, you have the opportunity to take a 20-question quiz. You can retake the quiz if you would like. I noticed a typo. I'm going to fix that. You have the opportunity to retake a quiz, as I said, and I hope that helps your learning. Sometimes I felt that my first quiz attempt wasn't always my best, and I hope that quiz retake ability is useful to you. Just note that the second quiz that you take may have different questions from the chapter than the first quiz did. And as a reminder, all quiz questions come from the reading that we are assigned for the given week. Labs are super cool. They're opportunities to practice work hands-on, and I think that these are going to be the most fun portion of our class. I hope you enjoy them. And exercises and discussions are going to be more collaborative. So that's what we're going to have in any given week. And we can talk more about that as time goes on as well. Just to note that we do have one final exam, and the exam is made up of components based on our weekly quizzes and our textbook. All right, so that is that from the syllabus. I am going to jump into talking about the first part of our class, the requirements of Unit 1. Don't forget to do the introductions discussion. And then please read or review Module 1. We are going to go over the Module 1 notes right now and things that I think that you should know or focus on. But I also recommend that you review the chapter as well. It goes more in depth than I'm going to go, most likely, and it will be necessary for your quiz that you do so. Watch my video when it's uploaded. This is the video that I'm referring to. And then once you watch the video, you can do the rest of the activities in this list. Anyone in person will be participating in the Unit 1 discussion in person. Anyone online should participate online. Okay, I am going to jump into our presentation then. All right, so what I was doing in class is I was asking students to give an introduction and explain why it's important for all computer users, not just IT professionals, to understand the importance of network and computer security. I am not going to make you necessarily write a minimum of 100 words, but I would like you to, if you have already written an introduction in the introduction portion of the discussion board, I would just like you to quickly answer this question in that discussion board. If you haven't already done your introduction, then that's great. Please weave the answer to this question into your introduction, and that will be a great way to facilitate that discussion. If you haven't already done that, if you haven't already answered that question, then please pause this video at this point, and watch the rest of the video when you have finished answering that question. All right, so now that that is done, we're going to jump into the chapter for this week, which is an introduction to information security. So to begin, I am going to go over some slides that relate to the chapter. It might be useful for you to have read the chapter by now. If you would like to kind of have an idea of what we're talking about before we talk about it. Otherwise, if you would like to simply skim the chapter afterwards, or if you prefer to just watch the slides as I do them now, whatever works for you, just take note that this content and the content associated within the text will be on your quizzes and your final exam. Whatever works for you works for me, but we're going to begin reviewing the slides. And I might not necessarily go through all the content in the slide necessarily, but I will talk about it as it relates to information security and specifically my job. So first of all, what is information security? Well, first we have to understand what security is. And security is to be free from danger. And it is both a noun and a verb, right? So it's well, I suppose I guess I should say it like this. It's more of being free from danger and the way you become free from danger. It's the process and the final destination. And that is what security is. And then when we relate it to information security or computer security is really the security that comes with anything technological. So here at the college, I'm in charge of the information security of the college, which really relates to protecting the data and the network of the college. So the data that's transmitted through our network and on our network and stored on our network, and then the networks themselves, the servers and the computers and the programs that we have and the data that's stored on top of them. That is what information security is. The term computer security, information security is kind of used interchangeably, same with cybersecurity. Information security is a little bit more broad, I suppose, than computer security itself, if we want to get technical. But for the most part, cybersecurity, information security, and computer security are used interchangeably. Now, it is often said, and your book will say, that as security is increased, convenience is often decreased. So what the book says is the more secure something is, the less convenient it may become to use. Now, that will be the answer that you'll put on your exam or on your quiz. That as security is increased, convenience is often decreased. I disagree personally with that definition. I think that as security is increased, convenience can also increase. I'll give you an example of why I think that is the case. If you think of a password policy, so if you don't know what a password policy is, a password policy is a rule or a statement of requirements for what passwords must be in a system. So here at the College of St. Scholastica, we have a password policy. We have a password policy that says what the requirements of a password must be, how long it must be, and how often we must change it. I believe we're required to change it every 6 months, but I would need to look at the specific policy to confirm that. But anyway, my point is the following. Right now, we require people to change their password every so often, right? And that's actually kind of an antiquated method. The National Institute of Standards and Technology recommends that you don't actually require people to change their passwords anymore. What you do is you require individuals to have a more secure password from the get-go. So what that means is, while an organization might say, okay, you can have 8-character passwords, but you change them every 6 months. NIST, or the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, is saying, well, maybe if you can make the passwords 20 characters, then we aren't going to recommend that you change them every 6 months. So, well, why would that be? First of all, well, new research shows that, first of all, passwords are incredibly insecure. They are not a good way of keeping data secure. They're not a good defense mechanism against people who want to do bad things. But when they are used, passwords are more useful when they are longer. So a measure of a password strength is not determined by how many special characters that it has or anything like that. What actually makes a password secure is how long it is. A longer password is always more secure. So NIST says, well, if you make a password longer, if you make it 20 characters, then you don't need to change it. You don't need to change it that every 6 months that they previously recommended. Now, why is it not useful to change a password every 6 months? Well, if you're like the majority of the world, and I'm going to assume that you are, because I was at some point too, so this is not something to be ashamed of necessarily, but most of us don't change our password that much. If you had to go change your password right now, and your password was, my dog is Sophie, most of us would change our password to, my dog is Sophie 1, or my dog is Sophie exclamation point, right? Or if your password was already my dog is Sophie exclamation point, maybe you would make it my dog is Sophie exclamation point, right? So these incremental changes like that aren't actually more secure and can be brute force attacked or attacked with a computer program very easily. So people don't actually change their password for security reasons. They change it for convenience in mind, because it's easier to remember that your password has one extra exclamation point than it is to remember a whole new long password, right? But the idea with the new policy, and might be one that we implement at Scholastica in the future, is longer passwords are better, and then you don't have to change your password every 6 months. If you have a 20, 30 character password, that password is good for the lifetime of your account. And I would argue at that point that convenience is also increased. How inconvenient is it to change your password every 6 months? I would say pretty inconvenient, because you have to remember to do it. And then if you don't remember to do it, you get locked out of your account. Or if you run out of Grace logins, you get locked out of your account. It's a hassle to have to change your password all the time. And with new standards that are more secure, like the one that NIST is recommending, you don't have to change your password. You pick a secure password from the get-go, and then you don't have to change it again. And I would say that is more convenient. And guess what? It's also more secure. So I would argue against the notion that as security is increased, convenience is often decreased. However, your book does not agree with me. It's a contentious topic. People argue about it all the time in the information security world. Just know for your quiz, you have to say that convenience is often decreased. But if you're talking to me, I would vehemently fight in the opposite. Security is convenience. So I kind of explained what information security is. It's the security of computer systems, right? Keeping the networks that we work on and the information that's on the network safe. And really, one of the most important things that you can learn this week is what the 3 types of information protection are, often called the CIA triad. I use the CIA triad every day in my work here as the information security manager at the college, and it is incredibly important for you to remember. So that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Well, what does that mean? Everything in information security, computer security, whatever you want to call it, everything comes back to confidentiality, integrity, or availability. Everything I do relies on one or more of the triad, right? So what are passwords? Well, they help keep things confidential, right? Because if you have the password, if only you have the password, then things are confidential. What does confidentiality mean? It means that only the approved individuals may access information. Only you can access your data because you have the password. What does integrity mean? Integrity ensures that information is correct and unaltered. So let's say that somebody did have your password and they could get into your banner account. They can start changing your data. Well, if the data isn't what you expect it to be, if the data is altered, let's say your birth date's in there, my birthday is April 9th, and let's say that somebody changes your birthday then that data is no longer having integrity, right? It does not have integrity. It is not true. It is not correct, and it's been altered. Availability means that something is available. It's probably the easiest one to understand when we talk about the CIA triad. Availability ensures that information is accessible to authorized users. So it means that when you want your data, you can get your data. When you want a system, when you want to go on my CSS, that information is available. That system is available for you. Availability is important. If a bad actor, if a threat took down our network, if they attacked us and tried to do harm to us, and we could not get into our systems, that would be a loss of availability. So again, I just want to really get these into your head. Everything that we do in information security has to do with the CIA triad. They're even either dealing with the confidentiality, allowing only those who should be allowed to see data or access systems. They're dealing with integrity, making sure that the information and systems are unaltered, accurate, and what they're supposed to do. And B, or they're dealing with availability, making sure that those systems and data are available whenever needed. Everything we do relates to those things. So this is kind of a view of what information security is. You can see that confidentiality, integrity, and availability are in there. We often talk about information security being in layers. And what does that mean? Well, if you have security and one of those layers of security, if one thing is broken, the idea is that you have multiple aspects of security that can back you up, right? So thinking of layers, it just means that you can have a situation where one layer is broken, but other layers are there for you. So I was talking to a student the other day, and we were talking about information security. And they are a student worker here at the college in IT, where I work. I've worked closely with them, and they have an office, right? In their office, they have a computer, and they work with code. They're a programmer, right? And so they can access sensitive material, sensitive code that is important to the College of St. Scholastica, right? And there are many ways and many layers that protect the data that they work on, the code that they work on. One layer is that their computer is locked. Their computer is locked when they sign out for the night. Two is that their office can lock. They can lock their office so that nobody can get in the office. Three is that they have a key for that office, and that key is also behind another door that is locked, right? And you need another key to get into that door. So there's multiple layers, so that if one layer or two layers or more layers of a system or something similar are broken, it's always good to have multiple layers just in case. So let's say that somebody broke into her office, right? And that's physical security. Physical security is part of information security. If somebody broke into your office, they still couldn't get to that code because they're not logged into her computer. One good example of defense in depth, as we call it, having those multiple layers is defense in depth, is Duo. You all know me as the guy who implemented Duo, two-factor auth, and we'll talk about two-factor auth in this class and why it's important. But two-factor auth and Duo is a form of defense in depth. Why is that? Well, you need two different things to log into a system. You need something that you know, which is your password, and you need something that you have, which is your phone. So let's say that I had your password. I knew that your password was my dog Sophie exclamation point or whatever my example was earlier. Um, let's say that I knew your password. If you did not have Duo or you did not have multi-factor authentication enabled, I would just be logging your account if I wanted to be. But because I don't necessarily have your phone, that's a second layer of security. Because you would get that, hey, did you just log into the system alert on your phone? And you'd be like, well, what the heck? I didn't do that. That's not me. Deny. And there's the second level of security. That first level of security was broken, but that second one was not. And that's why defense in depth and things like MFA are very important. Passwords are considered very insecure right now. They're considered one of the most insecure ways of authentication, but they're also our most common ways of authentication. Think of how many times we have to use passwords. But so often people reuse passwords, passwords are leaked. Password reuse is one of the worst things that you can do. Chances are, if you reuse a password, if you use your password on more than one system, chances are that password has been leaked already, and that password is insecure. But things like defense in depth are very, very important, and that is why I implemented Duo. And despite sometimes being inconvenient, it is more convenient because guess what? We're keeping your data safe. So as security increases, the convenience of using a system is also increased. The book will say that answer is false. I say it's true. Answer false for any quiz. A threat actor. A threat actor is somebody who is doing something wrong. Attacker, bad actor. You'll see many of those words out there. I typically say a bad actor, or a bad guy if you want to get a pretty informal. But a threat actor is the formal term, but there are many different words. And then if you've ever heard of the term hacking, which I'm sure you have, you've probably heard it on the news or something. They say, oh, so-and-so hacked this, hacked that, hacked that. And it's almost always used in a negative connotation. And what I mean by that is people think of hacking, they think hacking is bad, right? I'm here to tell you right now that hacking is not bad, not by itself. Hacking is only bad if you do it badly, or if you do it with malicious intent, rather. Hacking is just another word for tinkering, right? Typically relating to computer systems or code. That's usually what hacking is referring to. So there can be good hackers, there can be good tinkerers, there can be good people who are trying to figure things out, who are coding and things like that. Those are called white hat hackers. White hat hackers are the people who are not bad guys, essentially. Black hat hackers are the people who are hacking for nefarious reasons, and gray hat hackers are people who are somewhere in between. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Now, I don't necessarily enjoy the color connotation of that the terms, but it's an industry term at this point, like blacklist, like whitelist. But hopefully that will change in the future. Specifically, if we're thinking of white hat hackers, well, what are we thinking about there? Michael, what type of hacker is good? Well, every year, organizations like the college pay people to hack into our network. So we actually say here at the college, we hire a reputable firm, and we say, here's some money, do what you can to hack into our systems, to hack into our data, to hack into our network, and all of our servers, and see what you can get into, see what you can see what you can find, see what you can access. But we trust these people, right? We trust these people. We're paying these people to use servers. But what they're doing is they're doing the same exact steps: reconnaissance, access, elevation of privilege, things like that. They're doing everything that the bad actors would do, but they're doing it for good reasons. And how would they be for good reasons? Well, at the end of this, what they do, these people are called penetration testers. At the end of what they're doing, these penetration testers write up a report and they say, here's everything we did, here's everything we got access to, here's everything a bad guy could do that we found, and here's how you can resolve these. Here's how you can mitigate these vulnerabilities. Here's how you can get rid of that and protect yourself. So people like these penetration testers are white hat hackers who act like black hat hackers, but do it for solely good reasons, which is why they aren't a gray hat hacker. And then they write us up a report, and then we can fix the issues or the vulnerabilities that they report. Script kiddies are people who perform attacks but don't very much know what they're doing. Typically, script kiddies are younger people, maybe people in middle school or something like that, high school. They don't have the technical knowledge to build their own tools and systems, but they download or buy systems that other people who are more advanced and skilled uh, that they make. So script kiddies typically execute or perform these tools, use these tools, whereas somebody more advanced are the ones who are building it. There are also individuals that are strongly motivated by doing something that they believe in. If you've ever heard of Anonymous, Anonymous is an example of a hacktivism group, or people who call themselves hacktivists. Hacktivists are people who do things for a cause that they believe in. Typically, hacktivists can be considered like gray hat hackers because they're doing something for what they believe is good, but typically they're doing something bad and breaking the law. So they usually fall more into the black hat hacking community. And hacktivism is kind of one of those other contentious topics. But legally, it's not good. It's not something you want to do because typically you're breaking the law, despite the fact that it's for the interest of something that you believe in. It doesn't matter, you're breaking the law. So don't be a hacktivist. State actors are people who do things on behalf of governments. So just like there's physical war, there is cyber warfare as well. Nations are constantly paying people, whether under the table or whether for their government workers that work for the government. There are people who attack other countries on behalf of a country. They're state-sponsored, and they're attacking their foes, and those are state actors. Insiders are one of the most, I would say most, what would be the word for that? I would say insiders are one of the, well, I guess I would say one of the worst threats that we have. Because if you think about insiders, people who are already inside a company or are well known to a company or have access to a company. So let's say me, for example, let's say that I were an insider threat. I could cause harm to the system, to our systems in easier ways and possibly more detrimental ways than somebody from the outside. So if I were to attack the college, which I wouldn't, but if I did, I would be considered an insider threat. and I could potentially be, I could be more damaging than somebody who isn't familiar with the college. I know where more of our data are. I know more of our systems. I could be more dangerous. And so could insiders, because they're already through some of the rings of defense in depth. Remember, I already have an account. I already have admin privileges, and these are things that, or rights that typically an outside black hat hacker would have to gain. I already have those, and that's why that's more dangerous. Also, I have knowledge of the organization. I'll let you read this at your convenience of what other threat actors are. Go ahead and pause and read, or continue and go back to it after. So knowledge check: what type of threat actor is often involved in multi-year intrusion campaigns targeting a highly sensitive economic, proprietary, or national security information? Take a second to answer this one. Is it A, insider threat, B, state actor, C, hacktivist, D, script kiddie? Well, it is state actor. A state actor is somebody who typically is at the national level and attacks other nations. So what is a vulnerability? Well, a vulnerability is simply, and I think we might say, okay, there we go. I wish these two slides were switched. So I will tell you what a vulnerability first. A vulnerability is something, is defined as the state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed. So I would just say that the easiest way for me to understand a vulnerability is something that can be exploited maliciously. Okay, if your phone is not up to date with security patches, if your phone is not up to date with those security patches, then your phone has a vulnerability. Your phone has an opening for attack. That is what a vulnerability is, an opening for attack. So now let's go back. One of the most successful types of attack is social engineering. What is social engineering? Social engineering is our attacks on vulnerabilities that are not technological. So the vulnerability of social engineering is often people. If you've ever heard of a phishing email is an email that claims to be from a trusted source, or a source that you would trust, like Amazon or your credit card, that says you purchased something, and if you don't recognize this purchase, log in to dispute the purchase. But then if you go log into that, you're actually not logging into Amazon, you're logging into the bad actor's website, and you're giving them your credentials once you log in. That is called a social engineering technique, because they did not use any technological means or technological tool to exploit the vulnerability. The vulnerability is you. It is not a technical, you are not a technology, you are not a technical piece of equipment or thing, you are a person, and you've been tricked socially. Another social engineering attack is if I were to sit down and I were to talk to you and I were to say, hey, hey Tammy, let's pretend your name is Tammy. So it's great to meet you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And we get to talking, and I say, oh, super nice to meet you. Where did you go to high school? And you tell me where you went to high school, and I say, oh, that's really cool. I went to high school near there too. And what did you do when you were in school? What were some of your hobbies? Um, do you like to hang out with friends, or what are some things that you like to do in your free time? and then, you know, if we're chatting, you would just tell me your guard is down. And then I say, you know, I told you that I went to school near you. Do you know Mrs. White? No, you don't know Mrs. White? Oh, well, who was your favorite teacher? Um, and you probably tell me. And then we get talking, and I learn some more things about you. And I say, oh, tell me about your family. Tell me about your mom, your dad. And then as I get to know you more, as I get to talk more, maybe I can get your mom's maiden name. Maybe I can get some information about your family. Maybe where you grew up. Where you grew up. Oh, your your first your first address, maybe. If these are starting to sound a little bit familiar, it's because these are common password reset security questions. And often people are social engineered out of those. Password security questions are common everyday things. Who's your best friend? When you were little, what's the name of your first pet? Things that somebody who is social engineering you can easily get out of you if your guard is down, if you're not paying attention. Humans are one of the biggest vulnerabilities, because technology hardly fails, but humans often do, right? And we don't always, we're not always paying attention or something like that, and we are often vulnerable to attacks. And that is one example of how I could get a lot of information from you and potentially reset one of your passwords. So technology does fail. Configuration settings are often properly not implemented. That's more of a technological vulnerability. Third parties can be a vulnerability. If you outsource code development, do you always trust the companies that you're working with, that you're outsourcing with? How do you know that they're secure with your data? And then things that fix vulnerability. If you think of a vulnerability as like a hole, patches fix vulnerabilities. Patches, if you update your phone when there's security updates, you are fixing security vulnerabilities with what's called a patch. A zero-day vulnerability are vulnerabilities that can be exploited by attackers before other people know they exist. It's called a 0 day because it provides 0 days of warning. It just exists and people know about it. They're considered to be extremely serious, and they're typically, well, they are because they're out there before anybody else knows about it. They're not patched at the moment. They exist, attackers can't exploit them, and there's no fix for it. There's no patch yet. Attack vectors. Attack vector is a pathway or avenue used by a threat actor to penetrate a system. So oftentimes people get attack vectors and vulnerabilities confused. So a vulnerability is something that is insecure. It is something that is vulnerable to attack. An attack vector is the way by which you exploit that vulnerability, the way by which a threat actor exploits that vulnerability. So an attack vector can be email if it's a phishing email. It can be social media. I can be chatting with you about your security questions without you knowing. It can be technological, removable media. There's so many attack vectors out there. But the important thing to note is that an attack vector is a way by which a vulnerability can be exploited by a threat actor. Social engineering is what I explained. It's the way of eliciting information by relying on the weaknesses of individuals. Typically, there's a lot of psychological tricks that are used in social engineering, and it's one of the most effective ways to attack people and attack information. And a lot of people wouldn't think that because they think, oh, information security, you're going to attack a system. Usually people are the most vulnerable means of attack. There's a reason that there is a saying in information security, individuals, people are the weakest link in a chain of security. We are the weakest link. We are the largest vulnerability. It's us. Impersonation, I could pretend that I'm somebody I'm not. I work at Amazon, and then phishing is the way by which I can impersonate things, and then there, like Amazon, and there's variations on phishing attacks. Spear phishing focuses on specific individuals. So phishing is more like, I'm going to send an attack email to everybody in the college. Spear phishing would be, I'm just going to attack the president of a college. And then there are other forms such as whaling, vishing, and smishing. The last of those you would probably be the most familiar with is SMS phishing, which is those darn text messages that I'm sure you all get. They are spammy and phishing attempts. They are SMS texting phishing attempts, smishing. All right, so I'm gonna let you read these. They are more social engineering techniques, but social engineering is huge and really important to be aware of. One thing to know is that physical procedures, physical security is a part of information security, right? It's one of the layers of security. And we need to think about that because, you know, keeping a room locked that computers are in, that's physical security, but that's keeping information secure as well. And remember that information is information, even if it isn't on a computer. Information is data, data is information, and it can be even if it isn't on a computer. I could print something off of a computer. I could write down my password. I could write down some data about myself. I could throw it away, and it could be thrown away in the dumpster, and somebody could go dumpster diving, and that is an information security attack. And that is a physical information security attack. Additional physical procedures are tailgating and shoulder surfing. So if we were in a classroom and I was talking to you, and while you were logging in, I could look at your keyboard and watch you typing your password. That is shoulder surfing. Tailgating is following somebody into a door. And really, this is just trying to really cement the fact that physical security is a part of information security. I will let you answer that on your own. And a successful attack always results in several negative impacts. Typically, these are classified as data impacts, so they affect information or data that an organization has, and ultimately it affects an organization. It affects how an organization is supposed to work or act or support consumers, right? And remember, these negative effects always rely or are based in confidentiality, integrity, or availability. As we see there, availability loss, A, financial loss, integrity, reputation, also integrity. I will let you answer this on your own. Go ahead and pause. And then here's a self-assessment. I'm not going to require this, but I recommend that you do it. It will be helpful for your quiz. So please pause at this moment if you would like to do the self-assessment. And here's a summary. I'm not going to summarize it. I've talked enough and you're probably tired of hearing me. But please do feel free to read the summary on your own. I will page through it now, and feel free to pause as you would like. And that is the end of what I'd like to talk to you about in regards to the book and the chapter for this week. Please move forward with the other aspects of the class, and I am here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for listening. I recommend that you do review the book as well. Remember, you have the quiz, and you have 2 attempts to take the quiz, and you have other things to do this week as well, such as the lab. So thank you for taking the time to learn about the class, learn about this week's work, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the class. Feel free to ask me any questions that you have, and we'll talk soon. Have a great day. Bye.